Hello all, welcome back to another video from Let's DevOps. Firstly, wishing you all a happy new year. May you all have a great 2025 and have a lot of success this year. With that, we are today going to start a new series on Azure DevOps. I know it's the most hot selling cake in the industry, especially when it comes to the cloud. And many people have been asking me about Azure DevOps. And here we go. We are going to start a series of videos on Azure DevOps. Before I start, I know it's been quite some time since we posted videos regularly on Let's DevOps, but be rest assured things will start rolling once again on Let's DevOps. Also quickly, in the meantime, we hit more than 200 subscribers. So thank you all, fam, for your support, and we will keep giving you more content on DevOps. Right. So this is going to be a starter session, your beginner session on how to start with Azure DevOps if you're brand new to Azure DevOps. Also, in today's session, we are going to quickly run our first pipeline and see how you can use Azure DevOps to trigger your first pipeline and get started with using Azure DevOps. Now, what is Azure DevOps? To understand Azure DevOps, let's first understand if you are a DevOps engineer and you need to set up a CI/CD solution to a project, a legacy project, let's say, what is all that you need? You need a version control tool to keep your source code. You need a ticketing tool, an ALM tool to manage, track your work, like a Jira. You need a artifactory to store your binary artifacts. You need a CI/CD tool, a pipeline tool to do the CI and CD continuously. You need some testing tools to automate your stuff. Now, if you are asked to give a CI/CD solution, then you have to procure all of these tools individually, set it up in the organization, and then transform the legacy organization into a modern DevOps CI/CD way. But to make your life easier, Microsoft Azure comes up with a SaaS service called Azure DevOps. Now, Azure DevOps is not just a CI/CD pipeline tool. It has repos, unlimited free repos where you can store your source code. It has your CI/CD pipeline tool. You can run your CI and CD pipeline using Azure DevOps. You have package repository to store your artifacts. You have exploratory testing suite to test stuff. You have an inbuilt workloads or work items similar to your Jira. So Azure DevOps is a one-stop suite that covers pretty much most of what you need to set up a CI/CD solution for a legacy project. Now, let's stop doing the talking and really jump into a live example as to see how Azure DevOps is and also get started with how we can run our first pipelines. To access Azure DevOps, the other important thing is that Azure DevOps is a free service, so you can go ahead and use it for free. You just need to navigate to dev.azure.com and it will ask you for a few things. You don't need to give your credit card. It's one of the free services that you can access. So you just need a Gmail account to kind of register, just like how we did for Bitbucket. And once you do that, you will land into Azure DevOps. Uh, we are not going to look into and explore every individual feature of Azure DevOps. It might be a too huge video to look at, but the prime focus is how you can get started with your first pipeline in Azure DevOps is the key for today. Now, a couple of things. On the left side, you see something called as organization. So you go ahead and create your different organizations. Basically, you can have in a real world, if I have to map, you can have one, let's say, for front end, back end, mobile, Android, iOS, something like that. Broader segregation of organization. And then inside each of the organization, like SK16 is one organization, then you have different projects. Right. Now, I've created a brand new organization, SK16. And under that organization, I have my first project created, Azure DevOps CI/CD. Just go here, new project, and then fill it out. And then you should create your first project. Pretty straightforward. If I get inside this, what do I have? As I said, this Azure DevOps is not just a pipeline tool, but it's a suite of different products clubbed into one service. What all you have? You have something like a wiki, more similar to your Confluence, where you can write notes and stuff. You have Azure boards, similar to your Jira. You can track items, backlogs, do all of your ALM related stuff in here. You have repos, as the name suggests, you put in your code in here. We are going to do that in the video. You have pipelines, so the proper CI/CD pipeline, similar to your Bitbucket pipelines or a Jenkins, GitLab, whatever. You do the actual pipeline stuff in here. You have test plans. You can use the integrated test plans to generate reports, have a dashboard view of your testing, code coverage, much more. And then you have an artifact, a temporary store of your artifacts. Uh, if you want to like fetch it across multiple projects, or this is not a like-to-like replacement of your Artifactory or an Access repository, but a temporary cache of your artifacts can be done in here. So you have pretty much all bases covered to get yourself started with a CI/CD solution if you want to implement it to a project that wants to move to the modernized CI/CD. Right. Again, we are not exploring each of it in detail, but this is on the high level crux of what Azure DevOps has. Let's go ahead and set up a CI/CD, not a CI/CD solution. Let's go ahead and set up a pipeline and see what all things, how you navigate, how you use Azure DevOps to get your pipeline started. First things first, you need a source code. And I just went to the internet to fetch some simple Java project, and there are a lot of projects. So I just pick one from the internet, I copy it, come back to my repos, and there are different ways you can push source code. So people who have used Git, they know you can do an HTTPS push, SSH push, but in this case, we're going to do an import of a repository. So we're going to literally import the source code that is sitting on GitHub onto our Azure repos. Since this is a public repository, you don't need a requires authentication tick box. You just go ahead and simply give import. Within a minute, it should just get imported, and you can go ahead and access your repository. Boom, all good. Click here to navigate to the code. So we go there, and all of the code that is on GitHub has now been imported to Azure repos. First things first, done. Now, it's a pretty simple, if I go to GitHub, it's a Java web application, which requires Java 8, Maven 3, and Git are the prerequisites to build this app. And I guess as a artifact, you are going to get a couple of jar files. And if you deploy those jar files, you'll have a web page, something like this. Right, that's pretty much it with the application. So since it's a Maven, it requires Maven, they have a pom.xml, so all good. Next thing is to go ahead and create our first pipeline. Now, here on top, you can see something called as setup build. Let's just explore this. If I go here, it takes me to a configure page where out of the box, Azure DevOps gives you some starter scripts to execute your pipeline for different kinds of application. If it's Java, you have a Maven starter pack. If it's .NET, you have one Android. And if you have a build.xml, you have an Ant build tool, um, ASP.NET, Docker, Go, Gradle, a lot. Most of what the development team would require is already coming out of the box with Azure DevOps starter pipeline pack. Let's say if I go and give this Maven, boom, there you go. It gives me a pipeline as a code, Azure pipelines.yaml, and then it gives me the code that is needed to execute the pipeline. Yes, as per the industry standard, all your pipeline code must be pipeline as a code concept, wherein it should be in the YAML format so that you have different versions of it. You can go back in time and much more. That's how the industry asks you to keep the pipeline configuration as a code. But if you're someone who is getting started with Azure DevOps, then this might be a little overwhelming to you to straight away start with using this YAML as a code. To facilitate that, to get yourself used to it, Azure DevOps also has this very cool feature of giving you a UI, more like a low code, no code, where you can drag, drop, configure stuff that you need, and then get your pipeline started. We'll do it that way for people who are beginning. And then in the later videos, we are going to definitely switch to pipeline configuration as a code. So I'm not going to save this. I'm going to get back to this pipeline section, and it asks you to create your first pipeline. I go and create my first pipeline. Uh, Below, if you scroll, use the classic editor to create a pipeline without YAML. Yes, I don't want the YAML. I want to use the classic editor, and that's how I want to use it. I heard that Azure DevOps is going to go away from this classical editor and only keep the YAML way, but I've been hearing this for quite some time and it's never really happened. So I don't know when. Right. So now it is all going to be on the UI. You're going to configure stuff on the UI and design your pipeline the way you want. First things first, you want to select the source. Where is our source code? Our source code is in Azure DevOps, and that's what it is clicked. But you can also directly access other systems also from the solution that is given in here. No, but we have our code on Azure DevOps, so all good. This is the project, this is the repository, and this is the branch. No changes. I click continue. This again on the UI also, it gives you the list of uh, out of the box solutions for your first pipeline. Ours is a Maven built Java project. So I click on Maven apply. Boom, there you go. It takes you to another cool UI. Might be a little overwhelming, but it's very, very simple to kind of understand. First block, pipeline. Yes, we are in the build pipeline. Second block, get your source. I've got my source wherever it is sitting. Third, I'm coming to my job, the pipeline job. I probably rename it as my Java web application or no, Java web application. Right. And then couple of configurations. Agent pool. So with any of the pipeline tool, Bitbucket, Jenkins, you need to let the system know where you want this pipeline to get executed. If it's a cloud solution like a SaaS service like an Azure DevOps or Bitbucket pipelines, they come both ways. They also have their own Azure hosted uh, agents, and you can also configure your own self-hosted agents. Same with the case with Bitbucket also. And if you're wondering why I'm always comparing things with Bitbucket and Jenkins, because we have made extensive exclusive videos on each of these CI/CD tools, how you start your first pipeline, how you get the um, agents installed, hosted, and stuff. So please go check out the playlists in Let's DevOps channel, and then navigate to Bitbucket, Jenkins, or whichever CI/CD tool that you want. Right. So similarly, Azure DevOps also has its own Azure hosted agent pool. And here you see agent pool. I click on Azure pipelines, and it is going to give me a list of the hosted uh, agents that Azure has. You have Windows solutions, you have Ubuntu Linux solution, you have Mac OS solution. I'm going to go for the Ubuntu solution. And with that, we are good. You don't have to worry about other stuff. There is something called as demands. Our only prerequisite was Maven. It exists. Probably we need Git. Most of these utilities are already existing in these self-hosted agents, but still, let's just go and give. So we need Maven, we need Git, and we've also needed Java 8, if I believe. Yep, that's pretty much it. You don't have to worry for now about all of these other options, but it's worth exploring them uh, when you get a chance. Right. And then the pipeline out of the box comes with three stages, you can say. So the first one is more of a build stage where you are building the pom.xml, and it says maven pom.xml. It by default identifies where the pom exists. Generally, it is on the root folder, so it will go and then fetch the pom.xml from there and then execute the command. What goal we want to build and then package it. So by default, it gives the package as a goal. And if as a part of this build there are any test reports getting generated, they will also get published into a local location. I will show you that. And if there is any other exclusive test cases that you need to run, you can also give those details and much more, much more. But for now, we are not touching anything. We are only asking it to, hey, build the pom.xml, and then with the goal package, because we need an artifact in the form of a jar to deploy and then bring the application up. So all good, just leave it just like that. What's in next? Next is basically copy files to as I said, a temporary artifact staging cache area, because I might need that for deploying it. If I want to continue this with another CD pipeline, I need to fetch this artifact from this temporary artifact area and then deploy it into whichever system, Kubernetes or Azure Kubernetes service or local machine, whatever. So it's going to basically copy the jar file and then put it into a local folder. All of these are Azure um, inbuilt variables, so no changes, nothing. Uh, just leave it as such. And once it identifies the artifact, it is going to drop and then it is going to kind of publish. Again, nothing needs to be done in here. All good. If you're wondering, hey, what's this? I'm going to show you where you can fetch these artifacts from. So all good. No other changes. The out of the box script kind of works clean for to get yourself started, at least. Just checking if everything looks good. Yes. I am now going to go ahead and then save. Right. There's one thing missing here. Same agent specification, Ubuntu latest, all good. Save and queue. Save is basically just saving the configuration that we made. Save and queue is basically save and then immediately trigger the pipeline also. So I will give save and queue. Azure pipeline agent pool, Ubuntu latest, source code from the master. Let's get started. Java web application. If I go in here, I know what's the problem. All right, so uh, when you're using the free version of the Azure DevOps, you have to request Azure DevOps to execute your jobs in their hosted runners. And this request you need to raise per organization. I now understand the problem. So I have already requested the permission for my other organization, which is SK16, the YES SK16, but then this SK16 is a new one. And hence it is kind of complaining that if you see the error message, it basically asks you to kind of fill a form um, and get the approval of Azure team to run your pipelines in their hosted machines. Anyways, let's not interrupt the video. Let me quickly jump back to my other organization to which I have uh, all of the access approved. Please don't worry about the naming. It was just a rough test I had to do before the demo. So let's jump to the pipeline. Quickly, this is exactly the same thing that we did on the other organization also. Same code, same stuff. And on the pipelines, I've created exactly the same pipeline, nothing fancy. And if I edit and show you quickly, it's the same stuff that you see. Same stages, same source, all of it is same. I just forgot to mention one thing. On the top, you see there are a few other options that you can explore. So this task is basically the different pipeline jobs that you can configure. If you want to use any variables, pipeline variables, then you can get them added here. And these variables will be only specific to this specific pipeline. If you want to have it globally, then you can go to the settings and then set up the global variables in there so that all pipelines can start using it. Very importantly, there is something called as triggers. By default, uh, it would be this way, which means all of the pipelines, when you configure it first, would only be manual execution uh, checked, enabled. But if you want the continuous integration, as we always keep emphasizing on our videos, at the moment you want push up source code or modify a source code, the pipeline should trigger. Then to get that, you need to come to these triggers and just check on this enable continuous integration, which branch, master branch, and the moment this is done, anytime you do a check into a source code, it triggers the pipeline automatically. You all have a few other options, build properties and stuff. You can explore the other stuffs as well. Now let's go ahead, and since we have enabled continuous integration, what we will do is we'll go to the, let me check, is it saved? Was it saved? Yeah, all good. So if I go to the repository and probably modify something, let's just modify the readme file, edit, dummy code, commit. Let's quickly jump back to pipelines. Boom, there you go. The clock symbol has ticked on, and there's another pipeline that's kickstarted. So let's jump in here. As you see, initializing job, check out the source code as is with every CI tool. The source code is checked out on the hosted machine, Azure hosted machine, and then the tasks Maven pom.xml, basically the build happens, followed by copying it and publishing it to the temporary cache artifact area. That was pretty fast. Let's give it another 5 seconds to complete. There you go. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, all good. Now, the interesting part is let's come back, click on this pipeline, and here you see one published, one consumed. If I click on that, there is this drop target, sorry, and a temporary cache location called as artifact where your recently built jar files are sitting. And then you can use this to trigger your CD pipeline and then deploy it from this location. Or as is the industry practice, push it to a artifact repository like an Access or an Artifactory and then consume it from there. Right. Now, uh, one more thing to add on. Uh, this out of the box tools that you get, like a Maven for a .NET, is not the only thing that you should use. You can also customize stuff as per your needs. So if for the same pipeline, we chose the Maven out of the box pipeline starter scripts, and it helped us with all of these three tasks. Now, if I don't want this drop, I can actually right click and disable it or even delete it and then add something else that I need from the list of tasks that is available. So it's very user friendly. It is very customizable. Let's do it a different way. Now, let's say you don't want these out of the box starter scripts at all, or you want to build your own in-house customized pipelines. That is also possible. So I go for a new pipeline again. I use the classic editor, and yeah, this is the source code. I don't want any of these Maven builders. Let's say I want to start it as an empty job. There you go. It's pretty empty. There's nothing that's configured, and then you can add tasks, and based on what you want, you can customize it. Let's say I'm going to do it a very simple, different way of building it. So I use a bash script. I want to run some shells commands. Um, I don't have a script to execute, so I'll give inline so that I can type the command here. Maybe let's give Maven clean install. Let's give it a Maven clean install on the inline command, and let's go ahead and save and queue. Let's see what happens. So we are not using the out of the box Maven build starter script. We are using a in-house task script to kind of execute the build, and we just want to test if that is also possible. Simple bash script where it is going to execute a hello world and then followed by the default Maven build command clean install. There you go. Even this works clean. But you might have noticed that this was not efficient. It took a little longer than the actual Maven starter pipeline script. But yeah, it's just to prove that Azure DevOps is really flexible, and then you can tweak it and then play around with it the way you want it to. One final thing I have, and then we are done for this video, which is let's also do it the classic, no, I mean the YAML way. So that I show you all types. Let's just touch nothing. We'll use the default script that it comes up with. Setup CI, right? Yeah, okay. And boom. Let's see how this performs, or does it require any tweaks as well. Before this finishes, if you go the classic YAML way, uh, immediately you can see that there is an Azure pipelines.yaml file will get created automatically and then pushed to the checked into the repository. And this is where the code exists. Pretty straightforward. It just looks for the Maven pom.xml and then triggers the build. Let's come back. Oh, great. That also works clean. As you see, Maven, all good. Everything is fine. If I go to my test, you see that the artifacts is now not showing. That is because we haven't added the task exclusively to put it in the cache artifact area. Otherwise, all the build looks good. Artifacts are clean. There you go. We have seen the different ways of how you can get started with your first Azure DevOps pipeline. I hope the video was helpful. and would help you get started with your Azure DevOps journey. Thanks all. Do keep waiting for the next video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.